We play a 40-minute game. Players get 6 personal fouls. There's no reason for this. It should be bumped down to 5. To give you an idea, NBA plays 48 minutes. They get 6 personal fouls. I think this is one way in which players will go, ooh, I might need to think about that. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Honestly, it's all WNBA playoffs right now. It's been crazy. It's been nuts. We do have Emma Hayes coming on the show as well, but it's going to be a lot of WNBA playoff conversation. I think, to quote our friend Boots, who we've mentioned on here before, she texted us last night, y'all, WNBA playoffs, wackadoodle time. What is happening? And I honestly, I couldn't say it better myself. It's been so good.
It's been wild. I've had multiple instances every game where I think I'm just sitting down and chilling and enjoying the game, and all of a sudden I'm up with my hands on my hips and I'm like fully locked in.
Are you directing that at a team, at a player, or at the refs?
All of them.
Man, honestly,
my jaw has hit the floor 19 times.
We're going to chat about the refs. I kind of feel bad for them, but then I'm also like, shrug.
I know.
Shrug. It's part of the job. They know it, but I do feel bad.
There's a lot going on.
We actually had somebody ask us, we watched with some friends, we had somebody ask us, like, if you could give a percentage, right? Like, how much in terms of fault and the physicality? No, I thought someone else did.
No, I said yesterday, I was like, out of 100, how much of this are they deserving? Was that the question?
Yeah, but I didn't think it was you.
Tough.
Picker of me. Yeah. No, I'm joking.
We're going to bring that back down to the bottom of the show. No, I'm kidding.
I think this is a good way to kind of just get us started in the whole episode. I said it was like 60% the refs. It's really a 50-50 thing, but it slides to 60-40, 40 being the players, because the refs do make the calls. They do have control, and the players are living in their world.
Yeah.
You said 50-50, which is a good start.
No, I actually don't know.
You said 50-50. Were we in the same conversation at the same time in the same room?
I'm not sure.
On the couch? But at around like 2:30 p.m. yesterday, Seattle time?
Yeah. No, I didn't say 50-50. I was actually asking because there's a lot that I don't know. I'm just only eye testing everything and just, giving my opinion. Anyways, we're going to get a lot more into it. As Sue said, Emma Hayes is coming on the show, U.S. Women's National Team head coach. Can't wait to talk to her. We just spent a little time with her on a Nike think tank trip out in Tokyo, had lots of laughs.
Lots of laughs.
Also, Sue, our little show, Touch More, we're so excited to share, has been nominated for 2 Signal Awards. We're up for Best Video Podcast Co-Host Team. Woohoo!
Go co-host.
That's us. And in the Athlete Shaping Culture category. For each category, there's a Listener's Choice Award. So you can help us, everybody, by getting on your little things, phones, laptops, whatever you get on. Voting. You can vote online for us before October 9th. So please support. We really appreciate it. All the links and stuff will be in the episode's description to cast your vote for yours truly. I'm Megan Rapinoe.
And I'm Sue Bird. This is A Touch More. Let's get into it.
Support for A Touch More comes from Google Pixel and the all-new Google Pixel 10. With Google Pixel's most powerful chip, unbelievable camera quality, and mind-blowing AI with Gemini, there's never been a better time to get outside of your comfort phone. It's got Magic Q, the time-saving feature that gets you the right info when you need it. Plus, a built-in camera coach that helps guide you on how to take the best pic. And you can generate videos of pretty much anything you can imagine with Gemini. Head to the Google Store now to learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Gemini mobile app availability varies. Check responses. Internet connection required. Magic Q availability varies. Camera coach results may vary. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.
Start us off.
We already know where we're checking in.
Yeah, we kind of already started the check-in, let's be honest.
The BANANAS that has been the WNBA semifinals. It's been amazing. It's been crazy. It's been funny. It's been jaw-dropping. It's been all the things. Sue, give us your early thoughts on these here WNBA semifinals.
Before we get into the actual play, just like a quick glimpse into the viewership, into the ratings that we've seen so far, just a ton of growth. We're going to give some comparisons. So in 2023, in the finals, where the Las Vegas Aces played the New York Liberty, this was a big moment for the WNBA because a lot of people have been questioning us, were questioning us, and this was a finals that just like banged it, like did great viewership-wise.
Delivered.
And it peaked at 1.3 million, had an average of 738. We were on the rise. And there's always conversation around the WNBA, people trying to hate on it, people trying to prop it up. This year, in just the semis, in the game twos on both sides, there was an average of 1.46 million viewers with a peak of 2.2. All this says is we're growing, baby. We're growing. So I just wanted to start by pointing that out. I think another kind of another way to show this growth is, I want to say for the first time ever, I've watched a lot of WNBA playoff games. I want to say for the first time ever, ESPN's coverage has extended and they've shown the press conferences of the coaches and of the players.
Live.
And we're obviously going to get to Cheryl Reeve's press conference. That's where this is going.
And this might be the last time they do that. No, I'm kidding.
But you don't usually see that extended coverage. It's what we've all wanted, whether we've talked about pregame, postgame, halftime. So to have that happen, when they went to Cheryl in that press conference, I was like, whoa. They also went to players. So it wasn't just to cover, cover the drama. And they continue to do that in game 4 as well. But yeah, Mercury versus Lynx. The Mercury have advanced to the finals.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with that series?
I mean, the Mercury's really good. I feel like they've kind of just been like doing their thing all year. They've been getting the team together, obviously. Big rebuild from last year. This year, I just feel like has been all about the Minnesota Lynx. And obviously there's Fee was out. That was tough. Just as a fan, I was like, that's a bummer. But Mercury, I'm like, yeah, he deserved to be going to the finals. Great fan base. I think just for the overall product, I'm like, this is good. Great fan base, bunch of recognizable players. You had one of the MVP candidates in there. Yeah, it's good.
Okay, so I think before we can even get to the part where the Mercury have advanced, which is incredible, and we can talk about the players, their play, the home court advantage of it all, we got to go back to game 3 because that's where all the juicy was. What's that face?
That was nuts.
Yeah, it was crazy. So for those that didn't see, and if you're a fan of the show, I can't imagine you weren't watching it. It was a very hard fought game, back and forth, a pivotal game. Game 3s are extremely important when the series is split for obvious reasons. It's only a 5-game series. Comes down to the last 30 or so seconds. Minnesota's down 4 at this point, but they have the ball. They've advanced it. They run a play they've run time and time again. Alyssa Thomas, sniffed it out. And when Napheesa Collier tried to, on a handoff, turn the corner, she cut right in front of her, stole the ball, got a layup, essentially ending the game. Obviously you leave space for dramatics and miracles, but
it was a 9-9.
Especially essentially ending the game. And a couple things happened. One, Napheesa Collier gets hurt on the play, twists her ankle so bad that she would have been out, I think, for the remainder of the season if they got to the finals.
Yeah, totally.
So AT steals it. Was it a foul? Was it not? Let's start there. In real time, I did not see a foul. Then when they showed the replay, of course, I see her run through Napheesa's leg. I think this is one of those calls, and this happens. I know this is not going to be satisfying for anybody. Sometimes there are calls in the game of basketball that only the refs know the answer to.
Yeah, I don't know the rules on this because in real time, bang, bang,
it comes down to centimeters.
Really bad luck that she rolled her ankle this bad.
Yeah, so because the ball got knocked out, I think the referee rule book says the rest is incidental. It's hard to digest that being incidental when it's all impact. One thing impacts another.
Yeah.
So I don't really have a stance other than in real time, I didn't see a foul and the refs didn't call a foul. So you have to go from there. Obviously, you just mentioned Napheesa Collier's injury. I don't think this was a dirty play.
No.
I don't think, AT has since apologized. There's a clip of her going around where she goes up to Napheesa, presumably to just check in. I don't think it was a dirty play, but the last part of this is Cheryl Reeve's reaction. And she went ape. She went crazy. It took we all know now. We now know how many people does it take to get Cheryl Reeve held back? It takes like, 3 people and a Napheesa Heidemann.
3 people, a Napheesa,
and a Dejanay towel.
and a Dejanay towel.
Which that was the, comedic, like.
It was the best, funniest
the comic relief we all needed.
Moment of the whole game.
Watching Dejanay Carrington, who's sadly injured, which is a big part of what's happening for Minnesota at the end there, holding up this towel as if she's blocking anything. It reminded me of that John Morant. Do you ever see that clip where he's on the bench and a camera's like right in his face? And he actually, I'll do the camera, he actually does a decent job of like blocking himself, but then whoever the producer was just goes to an aerial view and it's just him in like a long, just looking like this.
No.
That's what it reminded me of.
It was so unserious and so funny. It was like bailing water out of a cruise ship with like a shot glass. It was just like, listen, I'm doing my part here, guys. I don't know what you want me to do.
Comic relief because
Very
Cheryl
funny.
went ham.
Yeah.
I personally saw a coach who like 365 days of pent up frustration just like let it out.
Yeah.
I don't think it has to do with that specific play. And we'll get to her press conference
Felt
because
like
even
more
within
than-
that,
More
it wasn't about that specific play. It was like an overall feeling of frustration. And in that moment, she just let it rip.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't seen a crash out quite like that.
That was an all-timer.
That's like who's the guy that used to throw the chairs?
Bobby Knight.
Bobby Knight. That was just she was hot.
Hot.
I mean, I get it. You got your star player who is out. To be honest, right after as it was happening, because I didn't feel right in the moment, I was like, oh, she shot the gap. And like, I just felt like it wasn't a foul. Now, going back, it could easily have been called a foul, easily not, whatever. It wasn't called a foul. But I was kind of like, what is Cheryl so like hot about? And then the replays came and then everyone's holding her back. And then apparently maybe a fan touched her, but I think fans were getting the FUs without the touch also. I think Cheryl was giving those out for free. And yeah, just frustration and probably just an understanding of like it's pent up. All the coaches we're going to talk about, all the coaches talking about the refs every single game, like ad nauseum pretty much. And this was maybe like what kind of seemed like a destined season just fall apart. Like,
yeah, we've talked
right
about
in the
this.
moment. That feels very frustrating. That's really hard to deal with.
We've talked about this. This was, as you said, as you quote Megan Rapinoe, scorched earth. They were all on a revenge tour. That in itself has a pent up like frustration and vibe to it that you're just like riding.
A lot of emotionality.
And to have, Dejanay Carrington get hurt, obviously Napheesa gets hurt. There was a lot there. So we're going to take a listen to Cheryl Reeves in her press conference.
We were trying to play through it. We tried not to make excuses. One of the best players in the league shot 0 free throws. 0. And she had 5 fouls. 0 free throws. Got her shoulder pulled out and finished the game with her leg being taken out and probably has a fracture. And so if this is what our league wants, okay. But I want to call for a change of leadership at the league level when it comes to officiating. It's bad for the game. The officiating crew that we had tonight, for the leadership to deem those 3 people semifinals playoff worthy is fucking malpractice.
LOL.
Full corporate malpractice on him.
John Buccigross, who was doing SportsCenter that night, because we only got to one of the F-bombs.
Shut up,
3.
Bucci.
And he was like, oh, hat trick of F-bombs.
I mean,
Loved that.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, listen, of course, everyone's going to be like, of course, we don't condone that type of behavior. But at the same time, I'm like, this is what sports is. This is what you put into it. This is the emotion that it pulls out of you. This is the frustration. And I think what she was saying, maybe not how she went about it, like in totality, but what she was saying has merit, of course. This is what cracks me up. Every single coach in this league, but then particularly in the semifinals, has something to say about the refs. Except for Nate Tibbetts, because his team wins.
Yeah.
His team is winning under the duress of all of it.
Physicality.
Yeah, the physicality benefits, you could argue, benefits them a little bit.
It does, for sure.
But it benefits other teams too. You know, we're going to get to the Indiana-Vegas series. It benefited Indiana in this game 4. So I think when all people are complaining about it, it literally means everybody's doing it. And that's where, if I circle back on what I said earlier in the intro, the refs do have control. They can call it or not. They can set a tone. They can allow her physicality or not, because players are going to take what's given.
Yeah.
I will say, we talked about this last night, I will say players in this league, I've seen it in my own time, are incredibly smart and know how to manipulate. I used to say this about Diana Taurasi all the time. What makes playing her difficult? She knows how to manipulate possessions and moments to her advantage to get calls. And refs are, you know, they get duped. We actually, so we have a referee.
It's hard.
Very quick, we have referee meetings before every season where they come and they kind of outline what's going to be like the points of emphasis. And one year it was the point of emphasis was like, don't fool the ref. It was literally, and they show basically like a highlight reel of clips where refs got fooled.
It's hard.
And they were trying to say it was going to be technicals if you did it from that point on. It is hard. It is hard. But yeah, did you have any takeaways from, I think she got suspended because of all the things. It's like the on-court, the FUs to the fans on the walk-off, and then ultimately the press conference. It was like all in one pot.
Yeah, I mean, the W can't allow that kind of behavior, because then, you know, just like players, it's like they're going to take what's given. So this would now be acceptable. I thought the suspension was fair. Let's get into what happened in Game 4. Big impact. Cheryl Reeve, head coach, suspended for the game. Napheesa Collier out for the game, and inevitably Phoenix Mercury going to the finals. But Sue, what was your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I thought the impact of, you know, Cheryl not being there, although Eric Thibault is a head coach in this league, has been. So to have anybody fill your shoes, have it be someone who was a head coach like a year ago, you feel good about that?
Yeah.
I thought Jessica Shepard came out and really did a great job setting the tone for them.
She was good while Fee was out before. Also,
Yeah.
She stepped into that role before.
She set a tone in that she was calm, right? Like, yeah, she scored, but she was also calm. And I knew coming in, Minnesota's chances were going to lie heavily in the emotion, right? Like the do it for Cheryl, do it for Fee, but also like, let's show who we are. There was going to be an emotional high. And I thought Jessica Shepard balanced that with her calm. So I thought she just started them off on the right foot. So did Courtney Williams, who was aggressive all game. Real quick, Jessica finished with 14 and 7. Courtney finished with 20 and 6. But listen, Kayla McBride. I mean, she got an and one early in the game. I can't remember if it was the first or second quarter, definitely first half, where the way she came out of that, just the like energy, emotion, she was like, you can't guard me. Like I was like, ooh, she's on one tonight.
Yeah.
And she continued that. She finished with 31. She had 6 threes, played a game high 38 minutes. And sadly, before we get to her press conference, which we both enjoyed listening to, sadly, I do think in the fourth quarter where Minnesota, you know, had an opportunity and maybe left something on the table a little bit, there was like a 3-4 possession stretch where Kayla McBride didn't touch it.
Got a little
and I
stagnant.
I think that is where they could look back and watch film, but they're probably not because the season's over.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where, and that's where they gave Phoenix a chance. And we're going to get to Phoenix, but first, let's take a listen at Kayla.
As a vet and as somebody who's older, you know, I feel everything because I just care about the people around me. And I've always been like that. That's how I move. That's how I've always moved in this league. And I just care. So, you know, I think Phoenix played a hell of a game, hell of a series. They did what they had to do. And it's tough. But I wouldn't trade that locker room for anything. I would feel like this 100 times over to be with the people that I've been with. So that's why it's painful, because you just want it to keep going.
What'd you think, Megan?
Well, maybe get a little emotional right now. I thought it was great. I think it's like that's really how she feels. And I think when you get older, you do have that perspective. You understand a little bit more just how special each season is. Nothing's given. You know, even Courtney Williams, it wasn't shown here, but she was asked, like, how hard is it to have the target on your back all year? She's like, honestly, it was a joy. Like, this is what players play for. You put it all out there. That's why you play the games. I really love that she was willing to share that. She was obviously fighting back tears the whole press conference, even before she was asked, which I was like, oh man, some reporter's about to get in there. But I thought they both just like took it on the chin. They played their heart out. They did the absolute best they can. Obviously being down fee was huge. And Courtney said it, they caught the injury bug at the end of the season. And it's just a bummer, but like that's sports. That's why we love sports. Anything can happen at any time. What did you think about it?
That's just the love-hate relationship.
Yeah.
We all have with sports. I loved what she said. I think that's, to your point, I mean, really echoing everything you said. It's what makes it so special, what makes it so hard, what makes it so rewarding when you do succeed. That emotion, that we could all connect with that. Any athlete could connect with that because it is about the people. It is about who you're doing it with. What it also reminded me of was, there's a lot of great athletes that have played, in this league and really in any sport. And sometimes this happens and it's out of your control.
Yeah, it sucks.
And it's the worst. When something happens that's out of your control, that's also what makes sports, man. It just makes it unforgiving.
Well, we've kind of buried the lead here. Phoenix is on to the finals. Do you want to talk a little bit about their play?
Sure.
And what got them here?
The words that come to mind, or the word that comes to mind, is resilience. They lost game 1. They found a way in a huge comeback, like largest comeback in WNBA history, found a way to win game 2. Again, game 3. What was interesting, and Nate Tibbetts talked about this after the game, game 4, they actually like switched over. They were kind of now like favored. So they're underdog. Now all of a sudden they're supposed to win. And I think you saw that in the first 3 quarters. Luckily, because of Satu, she had 21, but she had 3 threes in the first half that kept them afloat. Because Minnesota had like anywhere from 10 to like 14-point lead at times. AT almost had a triple-double. We almost, sadly for her, like expect that. So it's like, oh, another triple-double.
Like, why didn't you have one? What happened?
Yeah, can't overlook her impact, the home crowd, of course. But the best part of this game was watching DeWanna Bonner, who has struggled. She has struggled this series. Finally kind of like shake a little monkey off her back and hit 3 huge threes in the second half.
I think she was 0-11 from 3 in the series before she started hitting these.
She hit a 35-foot bomb with 2 minutes to go that put them up 4. And those threes, listen, I'll go down the line. At the 8-10 mark, hits a 3 to cut it to 6. That means they were down 9 going in the fourth quarter. 3:40, they're down 2. She hits a 3, puts them up 1. I don't know if that was the first lead of the fourth quarter, but it might have been. And then again, with 2 minutes to go, puts them up 4. And so, she's had a rough year, everything that happened in Indiana. She comes back home to Phoenix. Again, wasn't playing great this whole series, but that's why you have veterans on the team. That is what veterans do. They find a way, even when it's ugly. And yeah, I think for Phoenix as a whole, as a franchise, shout out to Nick Uren, the GM. It's his second year. They're moving on from Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner, and that is not easy. And they're, a year out of that and found a way back to the finals. It's incredible.
Support for A Touch More comes from Google Pixel. Look, it's 2025. You shouldn't be settling for just any old phone. Instead, get outside of your comfort phone with Google Pixel 10. Now, you may already be familiar with Pixel's industry-defining camera, but have you heard about its built-in camera coach that guides you on how to get the best from every shot? Or being able to share your camera in Gemini Live to have a back and forth chat about what you're seeing? Or, and this is really cool, video generation with Gemini, which allows you to create videos of practically anything you can imagine simply by describing it. And these are just a small handful of the features that make the Pixel 10 so extraordinary. Head to the Google store now and learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Camera coach results may vary. Check responses for Gemini Live. Compatibility and availability varies. Users 18 and up. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.
Moving on to the other series, Fever Aces. Fever!
I know.
Force a decider.
Yeah.
Nothing better in sports than a game 5 or a final or the game that everything is on the line. I gotta say, sorry to the Fever. I did not think that this was going to be happening.
I think that's why they're winning. They know that.
Yeah,
they know
and
nobody's
they're fast
picking
and
them.
loose.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Sure.
I mean, Give it to us.
Yeah, I mean,
you've seen this series.
The 3 players that come to mind, and this is not to, you want to talk about Odyssey Sims, and you want to talk about even like Shea Petty off the bench. But Lexi Hall continues to keep this team alive with her hustle.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, every time you think something's going to go one way, Lexi Hall comes in and gets a rebound.
Yeah.
Lexi Hall draws a foul.
Yeah.
Lexi Hall hits a 3. It's like she cannot be talked about it enough. She has really just been the most consistent. And no, she doesn't have the numbers that, we're going to talk about Aaliyah Boston having 24, 14, and 5. I think the second time that's ever happened after Tamika Catchings in the Fever organization. We're going to talk about Kelsey Mitchell having another monster game with 25 points. So Lexi doesn't have those numbers, but man, they're not winning without her.
No.
Zero doubt about that. So that's really what's carried them through. They're surprising everybody. They're riding that. It's going to be an epic game 5. The story of all of this to me are 2 things. One, it's the referees and the fouls and the impact it's having. I'm not saying I don't think anything is like unfair. It's just the pendulum seems to swing.
Yeah.
Stephanie White was complaining.
Which is the problem. It feels inconsistent. And that is what's the most frustrating thing, I think, for players and coaches.
Yeah. Steph White was complaining after game 1 or 2 about there being too many foul calls on the Fever. Mm-hmm. And then, you open up the box score for this one. The Indiana Fever shot 26 from 34 from the free throw line, 34 free throws. By the way, if they lose that game, the conversation is those missed free throws. Mm-hmm. AB got 13 of those things. The Vegas team in total shot 11. So, it's there. The numbers are there. Asia played great on the other side for Vegas. So I think free throws, how the game is being called between AB and Asia particularly. I mean, a South Carolina matchup where they're just going at it.
Banging.
Asia said AB said she has a special whistle. So it's just, they're just seasoning that pot of drama. I'm loving it.
Yeah.
I do think something that Vegas, and, this comes out Thursday, so game 5 will have already been played.
Yeah.
So we'll get to see if they did this. I think Jackie Young can be the X factor for Vegas. She's had big games, so it's not about numbers specifically. Lexi Hall does a great job on Jackie. I would like to see Vegas seek out other matchups. Indiana's switching guard to guard like nothing. They just do it. Mm-hmm. Find a way to get another guard on Jackie and then exploit that. Mm-hmm. That's what I would do. That would be the one change up. But, game 5s, those are tough. You know each other really well.
I love it.
It's crazy.
Okay, we're not going to belabor this point, but if you could do one thing with the refs, obviously everyone's talking about it. We can't change everything. We're at this point in the season, but if you give us one thing that you would do that you feel like they could do now.
Yeah. I have said this on my own podcast, Bird's Eye View. I said this on Young Men 3, back when I was on with Tommy Alter and Cam Johnson, months. Might have been a year ago. I don't even remember when it was.
Whatever you're about to say, I know you've been saying it for years.
I've been saying this. Okay. Every year, the WNBA has a competition committee meeting and players represent the league. So it was like myself and somebody else. We get to go. It's the GMs, it's coaches, it's referees. You have this whole big conversation. I would say it every year in this competition committee meeting. And it might not be what you think, but people who have heard me say it, they know what I'm about to say.
Oh.
We play a 40-minute game. Players get 6 personal fouls. There's no reason for this. It should be bumped down to 5. To give you an idea, NBA plays 48 minutes. They get 6 personal fouls. Mm-hmm. To go even further, we all play overseas. We all play internationally. We all play in college, high school, you name it. 40-minute games, 5 personal fouls. I think this is one way in which players will go, ooh, I might need to think about that.
Yeah.
I just don't get why we have 6. I've never understood it. And by the way, I've never really enjoyed the physicality of this league. I don't think anybody truly wears it as a badge of honor the way some people think. Mm-hmm. Our whole point was it's always been this physical. Not that we like it, but it's always been this physical. And I do think at times it gives too much of an advantage for those that do play physically. Not dirty. Big difference, folks. Yeah. Not dirty.
Yeah, you're over-advantaging one thing over another.
Yeah, we want to showcase skill.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, that would be my fix long-term. My quick one, don't let players blow up pick and rolls. When you see a player just storming through.
It's like a 6-car pile up every time.
I mean,
someone jumps and tries to set a screen.
By the way, that's where I feel bad for refs. What are you supposed to call? Is it a moving screen?
Yeah.
Is it, the offense needs to wait? Is the defense plowed through? So that real quick, call the defense on that 1 time, 2 times in a game, they'll stop doing it. But thanks for asking, Megan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Listen, I always want your opinion too. Just some other little basketball nuggets. Unfortunately, Sandy Brondello fired from New York Liberty. Sue, your thoughts? Season after winning a championship, first ever in the franchise history.
Yeah, I think like many people, surprised, but I also know Sandy's gonna like land on her feet wherever she wants at this point. Honestly, probably gonna be a bidding war.
Yeah. No, I think Cheryl said it best. She was like, this is a huge gift to the teams who are in search of a coach. Their GM's press conference was wild. So that's all I'll say. He's put quite the target on that team's back. The hire better be a banger. But obviously we want everyone to do well, land on their feet. But yeah, there was some eyebrow raising in that. And a little bit of news from college basketball.
Yeah, Juju Watkins has announced that she's going to be sitting out this whole year, this whole college season. Juju tore her ACL last March. So probably just like dedicating this time to herself. And of course, we wish her the best. We also got to spend time with her over in Japan at the think tank. So yeah, just wishing Juju the best.
She's looking great, everybody.
Yeah, she does look great. Okay, so that's it for the basketballs. And now we're on to the soccer balls.
Yeah, we're squeezing a little bit of soccer in
Yeah,
here.
we're getting some soccer in there. You know, we got Emma coming on. So it's only
getting
right.
to that part of the season where everything is like getting sorted and we're at the end of the summer, which like sadly is kind of the end of women's
raining
sports.
here today.
It's raining. It's
hot.
Seattle's officially just back
Cooked.
to its standard personality.
But yeah, you bring it up. So I think the end of this NWSL season, first, we haven't talked about Jaden Shaw. And so we got a big player who stayed in the U.S. but was on the move. So I want to hear you break down that. Do you want to start there?
Sure. Yeah. I think especially coming off Alyssa's move to Chelsea and, you know, a spreading panic that every single good player is going to want to leave and go to the WSL for these huge transfer fees. This is the second largest intra-league transfer fee. The biggest earlier in the year was Allie Sentner going from Utah down to Kansas City or over to Kansas City. Just feel like I never know where
I think it's down
and over to Kansas City.
Down into the east.
Jaden Shaw obviously making a big move out of San Diego to North Carolina at the beginning of the season. That really wasn't working out. A lot going on in North Carolina, but it wasn't working out for her. And it sounded like this came about pretty quickly. I think it's a great move for Jaden going to Gotham. She's just going to be around great players. We're interviewing Emma later in the episode, and we talked to her about this in Tokyo, but just the desire for players, and this is part of some players wanting to move to Europe, is the desire to play all the time with great players and national team players and elite level players. She's going to be teaming up with Esther, Spain's top striker. Obviously, Rose Lavelle, Sonnet are there. They have a great team, among many others. I'm not going to name everyone. But they have a great team. And she came in, made an immediate impact. I think for Jaden, she kind of burst on the scene just so young. I forget how young some of these players are and the expectations that are on them. She's had a great start to her national team career, hit some bumps in, development or consistency or whatever it is, but she's still just 20 or 21 years old.
A baby.
So young.
So young.
I think for Jaden, it's just a matter of being consistent and being able to put that kind of load and performance together every single week. And I think this is a good spot for her.
I love her with the bats. Go team.
Whatever.
So obviously there's been, a lot of big players, big moves, big playing, but now we're at the end of the season. Kansas City already clinched the Shield.
Years ago.
A month ago.
They're
Honestly,
16 points clear at the top.
When I opened up my social medias that day and I saw them celebrating a Shield, I thought I missed another Challenge Cup. I was like, this is entirely too soon for a team to have locked this up. But they did.
Yeah.
So, we can kind of skip over them. They're just absolutely balling.
Yeah,
but there's a lot of other spots up for grabs. You got a lot of other teams vying for them. What are you seeing?
Oh, my gosh. It's so, there's Kansas City. There's 16 points clear at the top. Spirit just clinched their playoff spot this weekend. They're 6 points clear of Gotham, who's in third. And then from Gotham it's Gotham, Seattle, Orlando, the Thorns, and the Wave. All of those are within one win basically of each other, within 3 points of each other. So it's kind of wild. I feel like Gotham is surging. They're doing really well. I think they're unbeaten in the last 5, along with Kansas City and with Spirit.
Is it Spirit or the Spirit?
Sometimes I say
Spirit.
the Spirit,
And
sometimes
I
I say Spirit.
Fair.
I think it's
But
Spirit.
it's never Spirits.
Well,
You know, there's a
Spirit's fingers.
there is an epidemic of women's sports teams and people putting an S at the end.
really?
Like, oh, you play for the Seattle Storms?
Oh my
No,
gosh.
I play for the Storm.
Just the Storm.
Just the Storm. You don't
Beavers,
get Reigns?
Storm? The Reigns? We get all kinds of stuff.
Anyways,
Yeah.
sorry.
Back to Gotham.
Yes.
They're surging. Obviously, getting Jaden is going to be a massive boost for them. She's a special player. Those 3 teams are unbeaten in 5. Everyone else is kind of doing the win-loss tie thing, and you never know really which one is going to happen on any given day. The Reign did win in their last game, so I hope they can put a couple together. But I just feel like any team that's going to put a couple of games together in a row, there's a ton of, I guess it's parity, really. And this is, I think, is something that people argue, is there too much parity where just like every team's sort of about the same, and so on any given day, anything can happen. But it's going to be a tight race to the end. There's only four games left, or 4, match days left in the season. So we're going to see how all this shakes out. But it's wild where all of those teams, and then like below those teams are just like outside of the 3 points, but they're like 4 points and 5 points.
Yeah.
And
What's the tiebreaker in the NWSL? What's the rules on the tiebreaker?
I think it's head to head.
Okay.
And then goal differential. Goals for, goals
Like
against.
total.
Yeah, I think. I mean, don't quote me, guys, but I think it's something like that. But I think head to head comes in first.
Okay. Well, we know someone who's going to be tuned in to all these games, and that is our next guest.
Emma Hayes became the head coach of the U.S. women's national team last year with only 2 months to prepare before the Paris Olympics, which we won. From 2012 to 2024, she was the coach manager of Chelsea women in the WSL. During her time with Chelsea, she won the Women's Super League 7 times. So very successful across the pond. Since joining the national team here in the U.S., she has called up 27 different players for the first time, which I love, and has begun what feels like a much needed overhaul and evolution of every aspect of the program, from on the field to off the field, putting everything through what she calls the female lens. So I can't wait to talk to her about that. She's bringing back the 23s, which I think is huge. Player Jaden Shaw,
What does
perfect.
23s mean?
The 23s, the under 23s.
Oh.
So it's like this lost group of players where like you've aged out of the under 19 World Cup,
But you're not on
but
the
you're not
national
on the
team.
senior national team, and you're Jaden Shaw and you're all, Alyssa Thompson, you're all these young players who just like then don't have any international football to play. It's not good. So she's bringing that back. I think that's great. And that's going to tighten up our pipeline into the full team. Without further ado, let's get the head coach of the U.S. women's national team in here, Emma Hayes. Emma Hayes, welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, how are you?
We're good.
Pretty
It's good to
good.
see you again. We just spent all this time in Tokyo
I know.
together.
So this is a couple weeks in the making now.
I know.
Listen, we are pros. We are World Athletic Championship pros after that week.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh, literally. I haven't stopped sweating. I don't think it was so hot.
No, you are correct. Be in menopause. You think it's hard now? Put another
Honestly,
10 years on you.
what a great way to start.
Yeah.
Menopause leads us right into it.
Oh,
Tell us about your coaching journey. No, just kidding. I would never ask you that. Okay. No, this is a great way to start. You've spoken a lot about the US WNT way and placing everything through the female lens. We want to get just like a high level idea of that philosophy, what that philosophy means, and then kind of like click down into a couple specific examples with the team where that shows up and sort of what you're trying to bring to light within the team.
Oh, at the basic level, everything we have journeyed and experienced in soccer has been through a male lens. Whether that's in the way we've been coached, to the content we've been coached, to the way we broadcast it, to the way we create experiences at our stadium, to the way we're marketed, to the way we almost draw same partners or attract like advancement commercial partners to to our teams. We don't do anything through a female lens. And we are working on creating not just like a framework, but rewriting it so that there is a matrix and a method and a movement that is shaped entirely through a female lens, like small task.
Yeah. Tiny task. What does that look like working within U.S. soccer? Because I think for as successful as the women's team has been for so many years, and when I was playing, this is just my experience, I did still feel like it was like from a male lens of like, oh, we get a new technical director and then they're giving directives to the women's team. And I'm like, what? Like, this makes no sense for our team. So how do you work with that within the team, both from like a, on the field perspective, but then also sort of like changing the systems within U.S. soccer?
Well, if we're talking about on the field, like there might be some obvious differences. Like in the men's game, a fullback can traditionally hit the ball over the other side of the pitch beyond the opponent's fullback, like a diagonal ball. You can't do that in the women's game. You can't quite get that depth. So let's take that one consideration and say, would we alter the way we defend to reflect that? Like, do we have to be as wide? Could we be more narrow? That's one example. Or we've studied where goals are scored from in the women's game. Are there any differences? And contemplating not just those things, but everything from, is the best recovery methods for us the ones that are suggested for men, like cold plunging is a good idea, particularly for men, but maybe not for all women, and maybe not at a certain temperature. This question was brought up the other day by our female health coach when she asked us the question, do men burn more carbs than women? So just take like a basic question like that, and then you go, well, actually, not only do I not know that, but are we actually doing the right things around nutrition and recovery and performance and the technical side? So for me, it's the whole thing. It's not one thing.
Yeah. So I imagine when you first got the job and you first were taking over, you had like a vision of what the team could be, how you would coach it. So I'm curious what that was, and in your first year, how that evolved.
Well, I think when you are doing anything, like whether you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're a pilot, after 20 plus years or 25 years, you'd like to think you know how to fly your plane. And I'd like to think I could carve your kidney out and stitch you up quite nicely and not kill you while I'm at it. But at the same time, even actually make you come back and be highly functioning. I think it's the same with introducing like a method to a team, or a game model, as is often called. There's an accumulation of probably 25 years worth of development and learning, coupled with staff that I've been working with over a period of time, and then putting that in a digestible format for a team to learn when you've only got about 2.5 days to build towards a game. So for us, did we have a good idea? We were really clear on the model. The challenge for us was, can we do it with like 3 weeks? What might take us a whole season to achieve. So did we expect the team to pick it up that quickly? Well, once I saw how fast they were as learners, all I kept saying is, we better be good enough. Not the players, we better be good enough as staff to be able to deliver for that. And then when the Olympics finished, I took some time in and around September to really develop the strategy for the next 3 years and beyond, which includes putting in place a gold print, a framework to sort of give us criteria around winning. And honestly, 1 year on, do I think we would have achieved what we have so far around the team? Probably not. But we've got so many brilliant people working at US Soccer that we're able to accelerate that. And that includes the learning for all the players on the pitch.
Yeah. What role did you bringing in? So you brought in 27 first-time call-ups. Since you've taken over, this is described by some as, quote, the most dramatic overhaul in the 40-year history.
No, it really is. It's like way more than was even like really possible before.
Yeah. So what role does that play in this evolution of the last year? What drove you to, I guess, experiment this aggressively, and what were you looking for?
I think, first of all, I know the history of the programme, and I know the history of the programme in relation to where the World Game was. So understanding that, I think, always gave me a head start. And gone are the days where the US women's national team could just operate like a club team because of what's gone on in the rest of the world and the development in the rest of the world, particularly Champions League and Nations League and European Championships. So European teams are getting more exposures to high-level games. That's the first one. The second is they play a season in Europe where they average about, with international games, about 55 games a year. And in the US, it was roughly about 37 to 40. So our players aren't necessarily facing the exposures at the highest level. So it was a case of how are we going to simulate those situations to do two things: assess the playing pool and see where they are, and then second, send players back into the club environment saying, I want more of this. And so we raised the standard in the league. So I think it's a combination of things, and really you leaning in on some of the developments in US soccer to understand what does top level look like today, and how are we going to get our players to that, including youth national team experiences, as well as the domestic cups that have come into play. We have to broaden the experiences of American players, and that's something that I think we have done by creating not just the Futures Camp, but trying to be more intentional with our scheduling.
I have a question really quick. You want to go?
No.
This is our constant. Because I just had a thought of was the fact that, and I think this you already knew this, the fact that you were going to have to come in and overhaul the whole system, part of the desire to coach the team, because this wasn't going to be a like come in and shepherd the team and put your fingerprints on it. This was like we were at a turning point in U.S. soccer, anyways. And
that was the biggest desire. That was the biggest desire, without question. I think, this is a program which can, this it's a big job, and there's huge responsibilities, but externally it's considered a declining program in Europe. Very much like, everybody's caught up, some are surpassing, all of those things. And I think because I had 10 years in the US, all I kept thinking privately was, how can you underestimate America? Like in my own head, I was like, it was the worst possible thing, I think, for the rest of the world to contemplate. At the same time, you can't will yourself to winning. It just doesn't happen. You have to be strategic about it, and you have to be strategic in relation to where the world game is at. And when you're competing with Spain, England, Germany, Sweden, Brazil, Japan, the list is getting bigger. You have to really think about, well, hang on a minute. If Alexia Putellas at Barcelona is being exposed to the Champions League, the Nations League, she's played the under-17, under-20 World Cup, played at the under-23, played on a successful club team. How are we going to get our players up to that level of experience? And of course, ideally, they play within the NWSL, but I'm not in the, I'm the sort of coach that I want players to be happy, and you do that wherever you are. But the realities are we've had to close that gap, and the players see that, they understand that, and to be fair to them, they've embraced everything we've asked.
Yeah, it sounds like, one of the obstacles for the USA team is just that experience and getting those high-level games. I'm curious, just given what you know about the game itself, where it's come from, where it's going, and maybe some of the tactical trends that are starting to show themselves, what do you view as some hurdles, some other obstacles as you kind of go into, you brought up planning for the next 3 years. So as you enter this next 3-year phase.
I think one of the biggest challenges is if you're a country like England, Spain, Japan, all your top young players go and play in youth tournaments. And that's not been traditionally the case in the US. And it took me a while to wrap my head around this, that actually international football only really applies to soccer. So if you understand NFL and NBA and NHL, players aren't going to play for their national team every 6 to 8 weeks. They're playing for their national team, but not in the same capacity. So getting the ecosystem to understand, look, it is in everybody's best interest for players to go to youth tournaments for a number of reasons. One, the US women's national team get better. Two, the brands of that personal brand for that player who's attached to that club get bigger. And there's so much evidence that shows that players that go and perform youth tournaments, I mean, you just have to look at someone like even the players that have been sold for $1 million or £1 million in the last year, and you think about their impact up in their young journeys, that it's important to create those exposures because actually they're becoming valuable assets. And I think that for me is going to be the biggest hurdle, getting clubs to release players, because there isn't an appetite to do that. And we have to work hard at US Soccer to work with clubs to almost work scheduling together, because we support our clubs and we want our players to play there. But at the same time, it's going to play in a world tournament at under 17 and under 20 is critical for a player and a club's journey.
Well, is that one of the biggest reason why we're seeing so many young players be so good so early? I mean, I think there's a little difference in US players versus European players, because all the European players are going through their systems. They all play the same system. They very uniform systems, so they're able to slot into the first team better. But even in our national team, I mean, we have so many exciting young players right now. What do you think is different about this generation, or what are the elements and environments that they're in that are allowing them to be so much further advanced than the last generations previous?
Well, I think is they're in better environments to begin with. They're exposed to better coaching to begin with, particularly at youth level or ECNL. And that experience, plus in some cases college, in some cases pro, it's diversified the exposures for them. I think they are probably the big ones. And they've had the chance to benefit from the work of people like yourself, so that all they think about is football. They're not having to think about equal pay, or they're not having to think about certain things in the same way. It's not to say that they don't think about them, but they can actually just focus on that part. And what I've noticed is the younger players actually have more professional habits at younger ages than I've seen. So they've got like more outside resources. They've always got an analyst or a therapist or nutritionist or a psychologist. They've got like a body of people around them. They're already thinking like that. And I think that's where perhaps their advantages lie.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. That Stewie asked you really early in her career. They played together in Seattle, Brianna Stewart. And she's a phenom generational player. And she was, what, 23, 4? Yeah. She was like, if you could tell me one thing about being a professional or what I would do different. And she said, hire Susan Borchard, who is your trainer. But it's making those habits just become normal. It's like breathing, you eat breakfast, you recover, you sleep right, you do all the things. That's such a great point.
Well, I think Emma's point about, go ahead, Emma.
No, I was going to say, we talk about it in our environment as staff. It's really obvious how the less experienced players, of course, they require guidance, but they have better habits early. And it's not to say seniors don't. They just didn't have maybe the exposures or the opportunities that the younger players do.
Yeah, and I think that is about previous generations. Every previous generation impacts the next. So yours did the work that you did. So now the goal of being a professional soccer player, making a World Cup team, like that inspiration, but also aspiration. I think when you're 15, I know in basketball, this is happening. People are way more focused on becoming a professional because it's actually a goal where you can make money, have a career, have a life, the whole thing. Yeah. So the focus is just so much. I think part of that, something we're seeing in soccer, is a lot of these U.S. players are starting to make the move to the Women's Super League. We had Alyssa Thomas on recently, who just went to Chelsea. So Emma, from your perspective, what is attracting these players to that opportunity?
You know, listen, first of all, I speak with the NWSL about this. I having worked in the WSL for 12 years, and I've said this to them too, there's always that assumption, oh, Emma comes from Chelsea and the WSL, therefore she's sending players to Europe.
Are you a double agent, Emma?
I mean, listen, I've been known to be
Seems like it.
But like, women have fought so hard for the right to choose,
right,
and have the power in their hands. Like, why would I ever get in the way of that? Like, that's the first thing. I want players to have that autonomy, whatever that is. But they usually ring me when they're less so contemplating. They might be at an end stage with it and then want feedback around certain things. And I often just ask them to think through things that I know are going to present challenges. So like Alyssa, I was like, how are you going to cope without Giselle?
Yeah.
Like
we
practically.
talked about that.
yeah.
We wondered the same thing.
And I grew up with my sister, like being the same 1 year apart. So I know how that feels. And she was like, yeah, no, I think I can cope. I said, when it gets dark in England and there's not a lot of sunshine, and that's a lot, you know, you'll have to lean into that and find something out. But it's about finding what works for every player. Like what worked for Alyssa was a dream of hers to go to Europe, and it is the Champions League, I would say, is the biggest outlier. For others, Jaden Shaw, you know, she wanted to go to Carolina, and then from Carolina, you know, was happy to go to Gotham. It's just about finding what's the best fit for that player at that stage of their career. And that's where it's about like understanding them as people. And that's something I pride myself on.
Yeah, I do think what you said about, you know, yeah, we fought for this right to choose and have good environments everywhere. And then it's about just getting the best environment for you. I think players have a lot more information at their fingertips. They have a lot more idea. They've been in professional environments from a young age, so they can see, okay, I like this about my environment or not. Half the team is now playing in Europe, so they can just pick up the WhatsApp and be like, how is it? How's the coaching? How's the environment? Exactly. And so there's a much more open source style of information that players are able to pull from, which ultimately players want to get better, period. And they want to get better. It's not just about like, I think my generation was like, oh, it'd be really cool to play in Champions League. Like that'd be like fun. And I know I felt that way. I was like, I just something I want to experience. And now it's like, I think these players like, I want to experience it because it's going to expose me to high level teams and players that I only get to see if we play them in a World Cup or if we play them in a friendly. I think it's a...
You've hit the nail on the head. You have said it perfectly. And I think that's an interesting retrospective opinion based on your generation. They are so driven. I feel it every camp I go into, and I always say, listen, we can sort of look at the threats, whether that's domestically, whether that's overseas, or we reflect on it and how do we all get better? Like the NWSL doesn't have the Champions League. So CONCACAF as a Champions League is a competition that is behind the Champions League, and it's gonna take time to get it. And I think even our role at US Soccer is how can we help with that to create the right experiences for our players that are in the US. And it's just diversity. I always said this, I would never have been able to coach a certain way if I'd never been able to do that in the Champions League. It was going up against Barcelona's and PSG's and Lyon's and Bayern Munich's in Wolfsburg, because you had to have a tactical toolkit that was very different. So by the time I came to the Olympics, I remember staff saying, this is really tough. You're going to have to play 7 games in 17 days. I'm like, we do that every 17 days in England. That is the difference in exposure. Yeah. And I felt like I was equipped to be a coach of the Olympics. And I feel if you have to play 7+ games in 17 days, because that's what an Olympics is, players want to test themselves to be able to repeat performance every 3 days. And at the moment, that isn't on offer domestically.
Yeah. The tactical toolkit totally flagged for me because that's what international football is. And that's how, as a player, you become a top player. When you can play well against Japan, and then you can play well against Nigeria, and then you can play well against Spain, and that's just group stage. And then you're moving on from there. So let's move on to the friendlies that we have coming up, which no breaking news here. They've already been announced. You're not going to get in trouble. Friendlies, Sue calls them make-em-ups, which
That's even better.
make them ups. You talked about using, these friendlies to continue to kind of like layer on and grow. What are you most focused on right now in the team's evolution, and how do you do it with so little time? I mean, you've been in the club environment for so long, where you had weeks and months and preseason and year over year. How do you decide what you're going to do such a short amount of time, and then what's top of mind for the team right now?
I think if you want to be a top performer, being critical in your thinking is the most essential thing. So the first thing I do is zoom out and I say, how many days have we got together? How many days of them are on the grass? How many days are in the classroom? How many days or how many games? Include all the travel. Make sure we understand what a 3-game window looks like compared to a 2-game window, and then maximize the moments without exhausting the players. Mm-hmm. And there's always a thin line of that. There's always a thin line to say, we do tactical work in the morning, go and do a session. In the afternoon, we do team unity stuff. Well, of course, you don't need me to tell you, this will make you laugh. Some senior players are like, I don't want to do the team unity stuff.
Yeah, they're like, what if we napped instead?
Was that an American accent?
Yeah.
Was that your American accent we just heard?
Wait, give us your best Denise accent real quick.
I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, I mean, why don't you want to do team unity? It's great fun.
Love you, Denise. Bless.
But yeah, older players not really feeling that.
Yeah, they're not really feeling it.
But if you want to win a World Cup, to your point, or you want to compete to win a World Cup, you can't leave anyone behind. So if who's a good example, Lily Johannes or Claire Hutton are going to feel like they belong, then we have to work on that. They're only going to see you for 6 days together. So even if there's some parts of it that you think, oh, I'm not sure about, more often than not, what happens is you do these sessions, and I ask for feedback all the time to say, listen, I'm doing this. I know that might not sit comfortably in all of it, but stick with me on that. And to be fair, front-ending things with players, I always think that is the best thing to do as a coach. And I do feel like we've built that unity piece with the team. I think now, going into October camp, for me, this is locking in. Like, this time next year, we're going to have the qualification for the World Cup in the December period. Like, we're locking in. I've seen the playing pool. I have a fair idea of how we're going to disseminate into senior under-23 group. The senior group is largely part of a pool that will be considered for 27. The under-23s will also contain some of those players, but also with a view to 28 and beyond. So I feel like we can lock in really like now some of the tactical details and make it clear to the players what the criteria are to win at the highest level, so that it's not spoken about like 10 days before the opening game in the World Cup final. That every player understands, listen, you need to be durable enough to play 7 games in 17 days. Mm-hmm. Now, granted, the World Cup's a little bit more spread out. So what you do every day in training, all the games you play, and they matter between now and then. And you can't just do half and half with it. So, yeah, I'm excited because I feel like this is the point I wanted to get to, where we can really take it up a notch.
All right, Emma, before we let you go, we do have a bench start cut, a game we like to play. No? We're doing it. Yeah. Megan's going to put you through it. But I have one more question. As the soccer, I'm not really a novice, but I like to play the role here. I have a question about the Ballon d'Or. Okay, so Bonmati just won her 3rd. Incredible. She's amazing. So fun to watch. I mean, anytime I'm watching her, I'm drawn immediately.
Yeah, when we were at the Euro final, you're like, who's that? Who's that?
Right away.
Who understands?
Yeah.
Incredible football.
Right away.
She's so good. Yeah.
But I feel like in my short experience, obviously with Megan, and just outside looking at it, seems like the U.S. players, or the ones playing in the U.S., don't get like a fair shot. It's almost like what happens in the NWSL doesn't get weighted as much. And I'm just like, have you noticed this? Is this a thing? What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think not having our equivalent, like they have the Euros Olympics, World Cup is always going to position the players that play in Europe,
Right.
I think, at the front of the pack. But if we go back to the FIFA best last January, we had 4 players in the top, I'm going to get killed here, but maybe the top 10, 15. So we are there or thereabouts. But if you think about outside of the US, think about the impact Barbara Banda and Chawinga have had. I think it's fair to say sometimes they don't always get the appreciation and love they deserve. But that's why I don't like individual awards, because it's so subjective. And I feel like there's so many top players. It's so difficult to pick one out. Same for coaches, same for goalkeepers.
It's hard. In NWSL, we're competing for one thing every year, and that's to, win the championship. Whereas overseas, you're able to have League Cups, and you have Champions League, and you have your league, and you're just in the talk a little bit more, I think. And I definitely think that goes into it. Outside of a World Cup year, I feel like the only time Americans have won is when we've won the World Cup and you have a banger of a World Cup. So, which I get. Okay, the bench start cut.
Here we go.
We're just gonna get right into it.
Go.
Chelsea, Arsenal, USWNT.
That's Megan's.
You started this ruthlessness.
I have.
Bench start
back.
cut. Start US Women's National Team. Start US Women's bench Chelsea, cut Arsenal.
All right.
Well,
okay.
that
So
was
we're
easy.
right to it. Okay.
See what I did here?
Best cuisines.
Places you have lived or spent a lot of time.
You're spending time in. Listen, everybody's got to
Best
eat.
cuisines.
London.
Italian.
No.
We're giving them to you.
We're doing the show. London, New York City, and your new home, Atlanta, Georgia. It's tough.
London, New York, Atlanta.
So
you got to know the rest.
Starting London.
Starting London?
How does that make sense? You were about to say Italian.
What are we doing? A curry or what?
What?
We're not doing any English food.
You're about to say Italian's your favorite.
There's a lot of good restaurants. All right, fine. New York, London, Atlanta.
All right. Okay, fair. We're gonna have to send you some recs for Atlanta. They should have amazing food there.
Atlanta.
Fine.
Emma, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for the time.
I was dying. I was hoping you didn't say a player. I'm so
No, we couldn't.
No, we would never.
We can't put jobs on the line.
Did we almost have a Harry spotting?
Yeah,
you did. No, you didn't know he came in a minute ago and went, "Mummy, can I have an ice cream?" I'm like,
yeah, sure. Honestly, smart by Harry.
Yeah,
that's one to ask you.
You gotta catch. You gotta catch them when they're
30 ice creams.
Use the Japanese knife we bought.
Yeah.
The one that shaves your fingers off.
Good. Okay.
Amazing.
Well, we'll be watching the next games. Good luck, obviously, in those, and we'll be seeing you around. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks.
Thank you
for
so
having
much.
me.
Really interesting.
Yeah.
Interview. I mean, we obviously talked about it before, and we talked a lot with him when we were in Tokyo. Just the team really was in need of a dramatic overhaul structurally, the roster, the pool, all of it. And what, I mean, that's a big job to take on, but what a fun job to take on as the U.S. Women's National Team head coach. And you kind of have the run of it.
Yeah, I think, positioned perfectly. Emma is, just given her experience, where she came from, what she's bringing to the U.S. I just really enjoy talking to her. She has she articulates some things that are hard to put into words at times, so well. And I just love how she kind of has an idea of what she wants and an idea of what she wants to do, but then keeps herself open to what might need to change. And not a lot of leaders, coaches have that. And I feel like she balances and juggles that really well. And you could even hear it. Something as simple as, a lot of these U.S. national team players are going overseas. She can hold both sides of that.
Yeah.
And just kind of talk about it in a way that makes total sense, knowing there's no perfect answer, and can kind of approach it, like I said, balance. So I really enjoy talking to Emma, and we're very thankful she joined us. We'll have to bring her back on another time.
100%.
Yeah.
Should become a regular.
Just a touch more, a little bit. Just a touch more.
Yeah. All right, that brings us to a touch more. Megan, what do you have a touch more for us today?
Well, I always have a touch more time for the growth of women's sports.
Indeed, you do.
I always do. I just like, it's like under talked about in a way. I don't know.
Yeah.
2 things that I want to point out.
Oh, I know.
The Mercury, which this game has already happened, had a scheduling conflict at their arena with the Jonas Brothers. I have watched a Mercury game being played at Arizona State,
Oh, yeah.
a playoff game,
Tough.
because they got kicked out of their arena.
Yeah.
And we talked about what happened with the Valkyries. That was like,
There's always a bunch of reasons.
there's always a bunch of reasons
And
why we always get the
sometimes
short end of the stick.
The
basically.
reason is just a choice someone made in a room.
Right.
People think there's like all these different variables. No, sometimes
Nope.
it's just a choice. And
Yeah.
it seems like
This
Phoenix
is
Mercury.
Yeah. This is a great choice. They moved the Jonas Brothers. I'm sure they were happy to be moved. The game was packed. They clinched the series. They're on to the finals. The X Factor got what it deserved. But I just think this is another example of like choosing to give women's sports the best possible environment to thrive. And then we always thrive in it. Speaking of needing an environment to thrive in, they really do. I'm sorry, but the facilities have not been great, but they're about to be. The Sparks are getting a new practice facility. They announced plans to build a brand new one. It looks really nice. It's very California. Very California. There's going to be avocados and smoothies all over that. Get an Erewhon sponsorship in there right now. It's going to be in El Segundo. It's going to cost about $150 million, which probably means like $200 million. The Storm, not Storms, the Aces, the Storm, the Mercury have already built dedicated training centers for their team. Liberty, Fever, and Sky, and the Wings are in the process of building their own. This is basically almost every team. You love to see it. I'm so happy for the Sparks because they really do have, I think, something special there that they can really build on and like become one of the preeminent teams in that town. And this is going to be huge for the players. I know this has been just the bane of their existence for a long time.
Yeah.
So.
I was trying to do quick math on my fingers here. Like we didn't even mention the Lynx in this. There's other teams that have practice facilities.
Valkyries have
Valkyries.
one.
So
Lynx
now
have
it's
one.
becoming the norm.
It's pretty much everyone.
It's
Yeah.
wonderful.
I love it.
But
so
yeah.
what do you have a little more time for today?
A little more or a touch more?
A touch more.
I have a touch more time for the Women's Rugby World Cup. It just ended. I was able to catch, not full games, but like play here and there. And obviously I follow Alona Mar on Instagram. So
Obviously.
I feel like I was there. But 81,885 people attended the final. That is a record-breaking number for attendance. England, aka the Red Roses, I love how these teams have nicknames,
The best.
are the world champs. But what stuck out to me was something that the head of World Rugby, I think this pronounced Alan Gilpin, and he was quoted as saying the event was, quote, the greatest of all time. He also said the men's tournament could learn a lot from it. And where he goes in this quote is just saying how, yes, the play was amazing. Obviously, the fans showed out. But the players, and in showing their personalities, it allowed people to connect to them in a different way. And I think that's something that we have been talking about a lot in women's sports over the last, 10 to 20 years, how this is like our secret sauce. This is what connects us to people. This is where our growth is. And it's interesting to me that he's like, oh, the men could take a page out of that book. That's just interesting. But I'm really bringing this up to both shout out the attendance. It actually also got broke a record. 5.8 million viewers tuned in on BBC One for the final. That's the most watched rugby game of the year in the UK.
Wow.
So broke records, did the thing. The play was amazing. But honestly, this is Alona Mar's impact.
Literally.
I mean, I can't imagine being the single individual to carry a sport, and that's 100% what she's doing. And she's done it exactly in the ways that the head of World Rugby talked about, right? He talks about greater accessibility, more personality creates more stars, all these different things. And that's literally being visible on social media, sharing opinions, being yourself, engaging. That is Alona Mar. So shout out to Alona. We've talked about her before. At some point, we're going to get you on here. But that is just amazing. And
Incredible.
The proof's in the pudding. The proof's in the 81,000 people that attended.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. She's literally, I wish I had a good rugby pun, like of what it is to like get the ball and drag it forward, because that's what she's done with all of rugby into the mainstream.
Yeah, shout out.
Yeah.
Rugby's a tough sport to carry.
Rugby, yeah. Listen,
And that's it for our episode, everybody. See you next week.
Thanks to Google Pixel for their support. If you're tired of settling for the same old phone, it might be time to switch to the Google Pixel 10. It's got the time-saving Magic Cue, which gets you the right info when you need it, a built-in camera coach that helps guide you on how to take the best pic, and the ability to generate videos of pretty much anything you can imagine with Gemini. Head to the Google Store now to learn more about how Google Pixel never settles.
Magic Cue availability varies. User 18 and up. Camera coach results may vary. Subscription required and availability varies for VO3 video generation. Users 18 and up.